This video is going to go over why the INTJs love the ISTJs. And to start off this video, I'm going to give you the highest compliment that I could give you. ISTJs, you guys are the most loyal type out there. And I say that with full confidence because of the ISTJs that I've met in my life. And also just watching you guys operate. It's very interesting to me when I meet an ISTJ because there's so much similarities between both our types. But what seems to be common is that the ISTJs typically don't see the commonality, whereas the INTJs see it pretty clearly. We do the same thing, we're just operating in different orders. And before I begin this video, I'm going to say it out loud. It's going to be very abstract. I can't speak without using metaphors, similes, or using any type of abstract concept to convey my ideas. So ISTJs that are watching this video, I apologize if it doesn't make sense, and I apologize if it's not as concrete as it can be. This is honestly me just spitting off what's coming to my mind. This is an INTJ who actually loves and adores ISTJs, and I want to be as authentic as possible. With that being said, ISTJs, sit down, relax, grab coffee, whatever you need to watch this video, and enjoy the show, because honestly, this is my love letter to your type, the ISTJs. Quick anecdotal story about my experience with an ISTJ. I was dating an ISTJ before, and one of the most interesting moments I ever had with her, when we walked past this store called the Container Store. And for most of you who's never heard of the store, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a store that has multiple containers. Containers for the bedroom, containers for the kitchen, containers for just every aspect of your life. The moment she saw that store, her eyes lit up and she was so happy. She just wouldn't stop talking about how much she loves organizing things. And for me as an INTJ, I was confused, like, where is this coming from? But for her, she was letting me know what is important to her. For her, being organized is comfort, and comfort leads to everything else in her life. It's funny to me, even though I was dating her for a while, to see her eyes light up so much based off of something so simple. That's it. That's all of the story. I just thought it was extremely cute to see the ISTJ so excited about containers. Let's begin this video talking about stereotypes. ISTJs are known to be the workhorse, the ones that are quiet, that does all the work without complaining, and are just as robotic as INTJs, which honestly is true to an extent, only if you don't know the ISTJ. What you ISTJs present yourself to be to other people is similar to how the INTJs present ourselves, because we both have extroverted thinking in our second slot. That's our external function. That is how we present ourselves to the world. So I understand that stereotype that you guys are robotic, but I've also been close enough to an ISTJ to know that that's not how you guys are whenever someone gets to know you guys. The INTJ and the ISTJs are so similar. That's why it's so easy for anyone who just gets into personality types to confuse themselves. There are a lot of ISTJs that think they are INTJs, whereas there are a lot of INTJs who think that they're ISTJs. And it makes sense when you look at the cognitive functions. INTJs and ISTJs share two of the same cognitive functions in the exact same spot. And both of those functions are very important because extroverted thinking is how we engage with the world and our loved ones, and introverted feeling is our value system. So when a person meets an INTJ or ISTJ at work, you're going to see TE. But when you actually get to know an INTJ or ISTJ, you get to hear FI. So if you're not familiar with both types, then we might sound the same. We are very similar. I don't know how to stress that enough. The biggest difference between both our types are the functions that we use to gather and organize information. ISTJs lead with introverted sensing, whereas INTJs lead with introverted intuition. Both of those functions categorize all the information that is received and then create a framework. They're both framework functions. They're both using the past to determine the present that will affect the future. However, the focus is on different places. SI tends to care more about the here and now, whereas NI tends to care more about the future. So we're both reading the same books. We're just in different chapters and interpreting things differently. And there are different ways in how that manifests in the real world. As an ISTJ, because your lead function is a sensory function, you guys understand your feelings and actually have a vocabulary to explain how you feel. And as an INTJ who has sensory in our fourth slot, it's very difficult for us to explain anything, especially our feelings, because the way that we engage the world is so abstract. Both types feels our feelings and emotions very similarly. And in the terms of cognitive functions, when people think about cognitive functions, they act as if there's a way to isolate a cognitive function. That's not how human beings work. The reason why I say the ISTJ and INTJs are the most loyal is because we both have introverted feeling in our third slot, and having that following Mama TE above it changes the entire dynamic of what FI is. Other types will never understand what it means to have introverted feeling in a third slot, and they will never understand what it means to have introverted feeling trailing extroverted thinking. Because when we feel something, TE is telling FI to shut up. If it's not going to help fix a problem, if it's not going to lead towards a solution, then ISTJ, INTJ, don't feel that emotion. But because we have introverted feeling in a third slot, we feel emotions deeply. It's just the way that we are able to think our way out of emotions or to utilize it to be more productive in life. That is so unique to the ISTJ and the INTJ. Let's take the TE DOMs, the ENTJs, and the ESTJs, for example. They both have extroverted thinking in the first slot and introverted feeling in the fourth slot, which means that they don't really engage with introverted feeling as much as they engage with the other functions. It's actually a function that they try to avoid as much as they can. So they are able to be even more productive because they are able to suppress emotions better than we can. But because we have introverted feeling in our third slot instead of our fourth slot, it's part of our day-to-day. We have to deal with it. Even though we're able to push it back, it's going to come, and we're going to have to acknowledge it eventually. Now let's talk about extroverted thinking. The INTJ and the ISTJ, we're introverts. We need time alone. And when it comes down to engaging with people, we don't really like complaining vocally. We'll complain to ourselves or to the people that we're close to, but we're not going to voice it unless someone asks us or we're in a meeting and we're upset. We are the type of people that will get shit done without other people noticing it. We are the type of people that will make sure things are handled without asking for praise. First, because we don't care about the attention. And secondly, if shit needs to get done, then we'll take care of it. That's what extroverted thinking is. Extroverted thinking takes care of what's needed in order for the function, the tribe, or the group, or work, or anything to be as efficient as possible. Both our type cares way more about efficiency than any other type. And I'm pretty sure there are going to be people out there that say, oh, they care about it more. Not as much as we do. They don't understand that we lead with an introverted function, which means that we get tired very easily, but we care so much about getting the work done because we have mama extroverted thinking in our second slot. So here we are with our first function being an introverted function, which means we have limited energy, and our second function slaps us in the face and tells us we need to get shit done. Efficiency will allow us to accomplish things within the realm of our social battery. Both of our type understands that, but we approach it a little differently. I know SI types have this stereotype of always following the rules, but that's not true. If the rules are dumb, we're going to go around it. And that's true for ISTJs as well. Introvert sensing, again, is about comfort. Therefore, you guys are less likely to break a rule if you guys know that you will get caught. Whereas INTJs will break rules knowing we will get caught as long as it helps deliver the message or change something that we think is ridiculous. Now let's talk about the biggest difference between both our types. It has to do with NI and SI clashing. Contrary to INTJ stereotypes, we do have a master plan or a plan that we're working towards, but we don't understand the details of how we're going to get there. Whereas to the ISTJs, you guys tend to pay more attention to the details because to you guys, the details matter. To an INTJ, the details don't matter. It's the overarching theme that matters. When we're working on a project together, the INTJs will think about the overarching plan, the goal, and how to get there, but we stress out when it comes down to the details. The ISTJs will stress out if we talk about the overarching plan, the goal, without talking about the details, which makes sense when you think about cognitive functions. INTJs have extroverted sensing in our fourth slot. Therefore, anything that has to deal with the external world, which typically comes down to details, we are not great at, and it stresses us out. Whereas the ISTJs have extroverted intuition in your fourth slot. Think about all the possibility stresses you guys out. So it's hard for the ISTJs to hear whenever an INTJ say, oh, we'll figure it out. Because that's not how plans are made for you guys. You guys need to understand the steps in which the plans will be built. And it sucks for an INTJ when we're so far out from the project due date or the move date or whatever you guys are working on for an ISTJ to ask the INTJ, hey, what's the detail of this plan? And it stresses the INTJ out a lot because there's a lot of factors that need to be considered. And we understand that there's a lot more that's going to pop up. So why will we make a plan now and think about the details when we know that there's so many externalities that can affect the details that will eventually change the plan? That means we'll have to create another plan whenever something comes up, and then we'll have to create another plan when something comes up. We'll have to constantly refining the plan, which is honestly a waste of time for an INTJ. Let's just think of the plan whenever the time comes up. And I'm so aware that that type of mentality is hard for an ISTJ to deal with because you guys have intuition in your last slot. It doesn't make sense for you guys to operate that way. Something I also notice about the relationship between the ISTJ and INTJ is that ISTJs tend to find comfort understanding how to engage with someone, which typically means when we're in a relationship, you want to know what to do. And it's not necessarily that you want to be controlled. It has nothing to do with control, but you guys need to understand how to operate. And as an INTJ, we understand that things are constantly going to evolve. Things are going to change. Therefore, nothing is permanent. So when an INTJ operates with an ISTJ, conflict can arise because the INTJ isn't clear enough what they expect from the ISTJ. And the ISTJ goes crazy whenever they don't know how to operate because they have inferior NE, so their mind goes all over the place. It is so against the nature of an INTJ to tell someone what to do. Because when you're close and you understand an INTJ, we make suggestions. We don't expect people to take those suggestions because people typically don't. INTJs typically just provide suggestions. So you have an ISTJ that wants to understand how to operate and an INTJ providing suggestions but aren't really concrete with what we expect from you. That conflict arises. And the last thing I want to talk about this topic is the lack of extroverted sensing or the lack of extroverted feeling for an ISTJ. I don't know how you guys do it. You guys don't have people reading functions. The way that you guys engage the world, it really is so robotic. And I'm speaking as a fellow TE user, but an INTJ has SE, so we understand how people engage with us. We understand how people respond to the way that we approach people. Something as simple as responding to a video or responding to an email or responding to a text, it won't hurt you by saying hello or how's your day going or adding a quick joke or a smiley face or just any type of emoji to lessen the blow of what you're trying to say. It's so funny as an INTJ that has embraced SE, how different life is the moment you understand that social interaction has to have some type of fluff for it to be received a certain way. ISTJ emails are so simple and straight to the point. It's usually hello, what they want, very succinct, and then the outro. What you guys don't understand is that it could be misinterpreted in so many different ways. You set the tone for the message, and if you leave it for someone to interpret it themselves, then it could go all over the place. And a lot of people, especially when it comes down to their profession, tend to look at these things a little more negatively, especially because the stress of work compounds. So when you send a simple email that's very efficient, straight to the point with no fluff, it could be misinterpreted. And that's funny to see as an INTJ because having SE really does make us a little more sociable when it comes down to engaging with people compared to the ISTJs. Both of our types have blind extroverted feeling. It doesn't really make sense for us when it comes down to dealing with the tribe or having to adjust ourselves to people's feelings because if we fix the problem, then people will be happy. What INTJs also understand having extroverted sensing in a fourth slot is that a lot of comfort is built based off of image. I made a video about extroverted thinking and how it affects the INTJ, which I feel like the ISTJs might be able to relate to as well. One of the things that I said in the video that I think is also applicable to this video is that comfort and relationships are built through emotions and not what you do. So if you operate only on fixing people's problems but not connect with them emotionally, you're not going to develop a healthy or strong relationship. Most of the time they'll just rely on you. You're just a free service at that point. I honestly don't know how to end this video, so I'm just going to end it the same way I started this video. INTJs love ISTJs. I think it's one of the best pairings. And honestly, I said this earlier in my video and I'm gonna say this again. There is no type that's more loyal or dependable than the ISTJ. And I appreciate you guys so much for that. And that's all for my video, folks. I'm currently still in the process of moving, so I don't have a distinct background. I wanted to make a video because first, I love ISTJs, and secondly, I felt like I needed to do something. And if you want to support this channel, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, or consider subscribing. I really do appreciate it. Thank you again for watching this video. Thank you.